So it's been about 2 months since I got this Miris T, and I thought it was time to sit down and do an actual proper review. I did an unboxing video when I got it, and I actually did this review last week, and I scrapped it because it was basically me sitting down and going over every spec of this guitar in detail for 20 minutes and telling you how much I loved it. There were a few caveats, so rather than make that boring video, I thought I would go through the 3 things that I would change about this guitar and a few of the things that were different from my expectations when I received it, and how my opinion has changed since the 2 months that I got it. And if you're just interested in the audio demos, those times are right here, and there's a table of contents in the description. You can find what you need in the video. So if you're into these kind of videos, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the alert button to be notified when I release new videos, and comment on the video. Let me know what you think, and if you have questions about this Miris T, please let me know. There's so much to cover about these guitars, and I'm not going to try to put it all in one video. So I'd been mulling over the decision to get one of these things for a couple years. I first saw the prototypes of the Miris T and just went bonkers. I couldn't afford it at the time, and I saved up a bunch of money and sold a bunch of gear and finally put in the order. And it was about a little less than 9 months to get this guitar. And I just got to be honest, this is one of the most exciting and satisfying gear purchases of my life. I'm just going to get that right out there off the bat. And before I go any further, these pickups are not the stock pickups. I did all the gear demos for this guitar on the stock pickups, which are the Fralin Noiseless Alnico P90 neck and the Fralin High Output Tele Bridge. I was actually pretty sure I wasn't going to like either of those pickups because I'm not a big fan of noiseless pickups, and the bridge is an Alnico 5, and I'm a huge fan of Alnico 2. Just so happens, I really love both the stock pickups. I promised myself that I would play it at least 1 month without doing any pickup swaps. I'm kind of a serial pickup swapper in all my guitars, and I just wanted to play the guitar as it was intended, because those 2 pickups are the only options they give you for the Miris T. And so I was really pleasantly surprised day 1 on the neck pickup, and pretty impressed with the bridge day 1. But before the guitar arrived, I had prepared and gotten a bunch of pickups that I thought might work in this guitar as a replacement. So these are 2 of those pickups. This is the McNelly Stagger Swagger and the McNelly Signature A2 Plus bridge pickup. So these pickups aren't in this video. The only thing you're going to hear in this video is the sound of the stock pickups. Everything's stock on the guitar except for the strings. Okay, so to get into the 3 things that I would change about this guitar, the first one I've already done a little bit of, and I'm going to finish the job as time goes on, and that is rolling the fretboard edges a little more than they've done. So they roll the edges a little bit. It's not extreme. You can see that at the 12th fret around there, I haven't done anything past 5. So everything 5 and up they did at Novo. And there's the fretboard edges like around 5, and so yeah, so you can see there's a very slight difference. I don't even know if it comes up well on the camera, but I just prefer a really rolled fretboard edge. I do a lot of thumb over technique, and I just really like that to feel pretty cushiony and rolled. And the good thing about this is they don't bring the finish so far over that when you compress the rosewood just a little bit when you roll it, you're not breaking any finish, you're not introducing any cracks into the finish, so you don't have to do any sanding. I've literally put in like maybe 10 minutes just to roll frets 1 through 5. They don't really offer any different degrees of fretboard rolling, they just kind of do what they do here. And like I said, I think most people would be totally satisfied with the amount that these are rolled, but there are some people that just like a really rolled edge. The second thing that I would change is also a really simple thing, and this isn't really unique to Novo. This is on a lot of like vintage relic style guitars, and that's on the back of the neck. You can see that they've done the kind of thing where you've got the worn section and then you've got the glossy finish section. Now, this worn section here, this is the most amazing feeling neck I've ever owned. The way they treat this roasted maple and then finish it, it feels hard as a rock. It's super slippery, so it's just so easy to play. Your hand doesn't get caught anywhere until you get up to around the 12th fret, and then you get more of just like the glossy finish. And it's not like this is super sticky, but it's a definite difference from here. And I don't spend a ton of time above 12, but it is nice to have this kind of slick, easy, fast action back here. So over time, I might see if I can kind of knock down the gloss on this and get this a little bit more slick. It doesn't bother me as much up here. I actually kind of like it here because my hand will stop and I don't really move my hand a lot up in this area. So that's a pretty simple thing. And they pretty much do this to all of their necks. So it's worth mentioning that I think the only reason that I really noticed this back here is because this back here just feels so amazing that it's just the difference that I feel. And over time, I think I might be more comfortable to come anywhere near this guitar with anything resembling sandpaper, and it shouldn't be a big problem to remedy. So the third thing that I would change about this guitar is probably the bridge pickup. And I say probably because I've been pretty happy with the high output Fralin in the bridge, but it just gives a little bit too much of the A5 brightness at times. It actually rolls off really nicely on the tone and on the volume knob, but I just want a little bit more of the A2 warmth if I can find it in another pickup. And I think the trade-off is, if A2 gets too hot, I find that the G string just really barks too much, and it's got a lot of mid-range. So finding something that's A2 that's hot enough to compete with the stock neck pickup, which this is an amazing pickup. If I can find a bridge pickup in A2 that competes with that volume-wise, but isn't too big in the G string, I think that'll be the key. But if I can't find that, like I said, the Fralin high output bridge has been great. So there might be a fourth thing that I would change about this guitar. Thought I'd mention this really quickly. These are 500K pots. I'm very happy with the 500K pots, but when you have a traditional Tele pickup and 500K, you're going to get some very bright sounds. So what I might do is actually mess with the values of the tone capacitor in the tone pot. I believe it's an Emerson paper and oil .047. I don't really care much that it's paper and oil. I'll put anything in there as long as it sounds good. But I might just try some different values to see if I can get some more interesting roll-offs. And the other thing that is really cool to mention about this is the volume knob doesn't have a treble bleed. I'm usually a big fan of treble bleeds in guitars. I've been experimenting with not using them just because of this simple fact that I typically play with a lot of clean tones, and if you roll off on a clean tone on the bridge pickup and you don't have a treble bleed, you're going to roll off some highs, which is actually really nice with this guitar. So it's another way to get a little bit of a tone roll off just with your volume if you don't have a treble bleed. And while we're on the subject of the electronics, I thought I'd kind of pull out this Fralin noiseless Alnico Pole P90. This is basically what this pickup looks like on the inside. You can see that it's obviously two coils on their sides, like this is the actual coil portion, and they have the Alnico rods in the middle. So these are the actual magnets. These are not screws. So these are actually what's sensing the string directly. There's no bar magnet underneath here. And I'm just amazed at how much like single coil type tone you can get out of this pickup. I've never been a fan of noiseless pickups that are like supposed to sound like singles. And this actually isn't a single, right? It's two coils, which makes it a humbucker, which is how it's getting rid of the noise. But it really has the character and the voice of single coils. It's not quite a P90. I wouldn't, if you're going to get something noiseless and want it to sound exactly like a P90, that's not really it. That's an amazing sounding pickup, but it's kind of somewhere between a Strat and a P90. It has a little less of the mid-range snarl. It has a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more sparkle and just a little bit more pop from the from the Alnico rods. It really has a nice bite to it. But Lindy Fralin really got the balance of nice bright sounding low strings and round sounding high strings. I mean, he talks about that a lot, and he really nailed it in that pickup, and I'm blown away by it. I was really not expecting to like it. So one thing worth mentioning on this guitar is they started using these staggered vintage tuners. Let's see if I can get it to focus. And with the staggered vintage tuners, that eliminates the need for a tree on the high E string, the B string, and the G string, of course. The G string doesn't even really have one of the staggered heights, but these two on the high E and B are lower posts. So it pulls the string down lower, eliminating the need for something to correct the break angle at the nut. One thing that I've found through a couple string changes is that I like to put more winds on the high E string to make sure that string goes even a little lower. With just a couple winds, I felt like I wanted a little bit more break angle on the string. And just acoustically, it seemed like the high E string wasn't getting that same tone on the guitar. Like I said, just acoustically, I was feeling like the high E string wasn't pushing down enough here. I wasn't getting the tone I wanted. And that's where I really like to start, is the acoustic tone of the instrument. If that's sounding good, that's a great starting point for the electronics to do their job. So yeah, just wind that a little more on the posts, and you're kind of good to go with these tuners. And I love them. I'm a big fan of the vintage style, the way you don't get the pokey ends of the strings. I have a 2-year-old, and he loves touching my guitars and everything, and I don't want him cutting himself and hurting himself on my guitars. So yeah, big fan of vintage tuners, big fan of these staggered vintage tuners that they use. So one thing that I notice a lot of people asking about with these Novos is related to the body size and the body shape. A lot of people are concerned that these are too big. Maybe I'm not the best gauge of that. I'm 6'3", so this guitar feels perfect almost any way I have it. Sitting down, it really is comfortable. The way the offset works, it actually puts my hand a little, like if I'm playing most guitars, if I want to get over to the bridge, which is where I love playing on the bridge pickup, you can just kind of get like a nice barky tone there. I've got to pull my hand back a lot on a lot of guitars. Because this is offset, the whole guitar kind of sits a little bit more forward, and my hand naturally goes around here, and it's easy for my hand to go up further. So sitting down with this thing, like I don't have the strap on, it's just, you can see how well balanced it is. It just kind of sits by itself. It's perfect. My left hand goes in the right spot, and standing up, it doesn't dive at all. So for me, you know, I'm taller, but this body size it doesn't feel too big at all. And they do actually have a forearm contour on these. A lot of people think that the Miris is just like, you know, a semi-hollow slab, but it actually does have a little bit of a contour there. It's perfect for your forearm. You know, it's not super contoured like the Cirrus models, but it's enough that it's more comfortable than a lot of tellies that you would play that are, you know, thick and just go all the way out to the edge. So one thing that I was expecting to change about this guitar, but I decided that I really didn't care, is when I was ordering it, I actually wanted to get this half of the pickguard, like the control plate, to be an actual metal control plate and have this part up here be separate. And I wanted to do that so that I could mess with the control plate without having to take the whole pickguard off and everything. But the way it is, most guitars I am so ready to just jump in and start modding everything. And with this guitar, I really haven't felt that. I really feel like everything was thought out well enough on this guitar that once I get these pickups set, I mean, you know, I love the neck pickup and maybe the bridge pickup, but I'm very happy with the volume pot. That's great. The switch is perfect. I don't really want to mess with any controls and make things too complicated back here. So while a lot of my guitars end up being guinea pigs and I'm always swapping things out and experimenting, I think this one is going to mostly remain stock, minus a little bit of just work with the tone capacitor to see if I can find another value that I like a little bit more. So I did get the mono Gigbag with this, and I just thought I'd mention that I've been totally happy with that. It is by far the coolest Gigbag I've ever had. I do think that they're overpriced if you get one retail, but I'm really happy with it. I've had a lot of different Gigbags, and it's definitely one of the better ones. All right, so before we get into the sound examples, I just wanted to mention that really everything else about this guitar has just been phenomenal. I mean, the nut was cut perfectly. Almost on every other guitar I get, I usually have to do some adjustment to the nut slots to get them as low as I like them, but these have been perfect. It came with like medium-low action. I lowered it some, and the guitar just responded perfectly. I changed the truss rod to my liking, and the neck responded perfectly. In the last 2 months, nothing has cropped up like high frets or anything. I think these are all plecked at this point. So everything has just been super easy, down to like the bridge saddles. The intonation has been amazing. I haven't had to adjust it at all. I've kept the same gauge strings on it mostly. The Stringjoy signatures have 2 strings in the set that are higher gauge than a 10, but I haven't had to adjust the intonation at all. The slots in the actual saddles are really easy with string changes. But yeah, it's just a totally solid guitar. Everything seems super well thought out. It's extremely lightweight, 5 pounds and 13 ounces. And being 5 pounds and 13 ounces, such a lightweight guitar, some guitars that weigh that little, they can kind of take on that like cheap, lightweight guitar thing that they don't feel quite sturdy, but this thing just feels like a rock. It's just a great combination of super resonant, very lightweight, and sturdy. All right, so that's really it as far as my thoughts on the guitar. If you have any questions about the Miris T or the ordering process through Novo, let me know. I had a really easy time ordering and communicating with them. They're really awesome. And I even got a few pictures of it through their Instagram as it was being built, which was really fun. So yeah, enjoy the clips, and I'll see you on some comparisons for pickups in this guitar and some other guitars coming up. All right, take care. everything all the way up. Nine. Eight. Here's 7. Let's go down to 6. Now to 5. Four. Three. Two. Volume at 10. Volume at 9. Volume at 8. Volume at 7. Volume at 6. Five. Four. Three. Two. Here's 10. Here's 9. Here's 8. Seven. Six. Five. Four. Three. Two.